Listen, the apartheid government, compared to what the ANC is doing now, compared to what you have today, your daily lived experience under the ANC, the apartheid government actually served black people better.
I was looking at the statistics, the latest statistics. They say if the statistics are a true reflection, the number of white people since 1994 is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I can tell you, and I know most people saying, hey, you love white people, forget that. But I can tell you, in all the African countries where the number of white people has dwindled, or white people have left that country in numbers, that country becomes a shithole country.
I'm looking at everyone who's here tonight, and I now believe that indeed the revolution will not be televised. We're going to do things a bit differently. And I'm going to suggest that before we say Maibuye Africa, I propose that we begin our evening with some reflections about what happened to a donkey. A donkey that we can, for tonight, call Benji. We know that donkeys are portrayed in a variety of ways, including as symbols of humility, peace, service, as well as ignorance and foolishness. So very short reflection before we open with a prayer. So once upon a time, Mr. Kriel, a farmer, it's called Mr. Kriel, owned Benji the donkey. Mr. Kriel treated Benji the donkey so cruelly, beating him up daily and chaining him to a barren tree. Benji the donkey endured years of abuse, associating the tree with pain and suffering. When Mr. Kriel died, a kind neighbor took pity on Benji the donkey, unchained him and brought him to his farm, offering him food, shelter, and care. But the donkey, now free, refused to eat or rest in his new home. So one night, Benji broke free from the neighbor's barn and wandered back to the old tree where he used to get chained. There he stood trembling, refusing to leave the spot where he had suffered. The neighbor found Benji dead the next morning, still tied to the tree in spirit, though the chains were long gone. Coupled with that is that in 1828, the Cape Colony passed Ordinance 50. Theoretically, Ordinance 50 abolished all discriminatory restrictions on the Khoisans and made them legally equal to whites. However, as the late Prof. Sambitere Blanche says, far too late for the Khoisan. At that stage, their social structure and economic independence had already been destroyed. The Khoisan were too demoralized and had too negative a self-image to take advantage of their legal freedom. As a result, the majority opted to stay in their previous jobs with little improvement of their labor conditions and wages. The freedom granted to the Khoisans by Ordinance 50 was short-lived. It was taken away by the Masters and Servants Proclamation of 1841 and finally by the Masters and Servants Act of 1856. That's what happened. You may, if you want, you may say that the Khoisans GNU'd themselves. The two stories, though, one allegorical and one historical, remind us that it is possible for the oppressed to experience an irresistible and passionate attraction to their oppressor. And this usually happens when the oppressed remain unaware of the causes of their condition. So something had to be done to avoid the donkey situation and the Khoisan moment in post-apartheid South Africa. Odyssey of Liberation, a memoir of a rebel advocate, is therefore a timely intervention for the simple reason that the book comes out at a time of deep disenchantment in our country. It comes out at a time of theoretical and political paralysis, fragmented consciousness, and the death of the intellectual in our country.
The most important person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs.